I just stopped going to him because I realized that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
You know what amazed me? Surprised me.
They don't know what to do.
You better walk first.
Go get your burger.
You know what surprised me? That he told you he doesn't believe in meds. And then he wanted you to take a med.
No, he was very psycho. He was very schizophrenic. I had schizophrenic.
His psychiatrist.
He wanted to give me drugs.
So it's like I really respected him with everything you were telling me.
Yeah.
And when you told me that, it shocked me.
But you know what he showed me? He showed me that there's a duality of everything. Like even medicine has a duality. He's just a real person, and he's very open with his duality. And what it did for me is it showed me, well, that's the nature of life. It's like, sure, nobody wants to take medication. We all want to be able to think positive and heal ourselves. Sometimes you can do that, sometimes you can't. And I think meds are for people who either can't or who you don't need to understand why they're for some people and they're not for other people, or maybe sometimes in your life you need it. There was a time in my life when I needed that. I honestly was very happy that they were there.
There was a time when I needed them, and I'm so grateful that I didn't get any.
You didn't take any?
I didn't. They weren't fashionable at that time.
Yeah. And they were very destructive at that time.
I was having a nervous breakdown.
And this was the divorce.
I'm so grateful that the psychiatrist didn't get their hands on me, and I had to go through it alone. And if you go through it alone, when I say alone, I was married, you know, he kept tormenting me. I wasn't alone. But I had to deal with my pain without any assistance. And all I did was become stronger.
And you got out of it. Which you might not have made it. But then again, there's people that it destroys them.
Well, nowadays, you know, as soon as there's a slight problem, you're diagnosed and you get the meds.
Yeah. So what do you think was your foundation of strength? What kept you going when your husband was actually, he was telling you to kill yourself, right? What kept you from losing it?
I kept trying to kill myself.
Well,
I was pregnant.
What got you out of it?
I attempted suicide 6 times in 3 months.
What finally got you out of all this horrible time?
What got me out of it is the suicides didn't work. And finally I left him. And I left my children. I took my children 3 times. And each time it goes back regrets. So finally I knew I would either be in a mental institution or dead. And that I wouldn't be my children would be better off if that happened. So I left.
And then that's when you got better, is because he was the problem. He was abusive.
He convinced me to go to a mental institution. So I went to Bellevue. And they said, if you stay here, you'll get worse. They said, go to Roosevelt. So I went to Roosevelt, and they said, what do you need in order to stop committing suicide, stop attempting suicide?
Right.
I said, I need for my husband to leave. And they laughed at me. I said, do you really think if he leaves, you're going to stop attempting suicide? And I said, yes. They told me to come to therapy every day. And I went home and thought I'd been saved. And I'd never been in therapy, and I thought they were going to have me weaving baskets.
Right.
And I said, okay, maybe that will take my mind off everything, I'll weave baskets. And I got home and I said, they want me to come to therapy. And he said, we can't afford it. And we had his girlfriend living with us, which I thought was my best friend. And I said, Carol will watch the kids. And he said, I don't want to take advantage of her. And I said, we're supporting her. He said, that doesn't matter. I don't want to ask her. And I said, I'll ask her. Thinking she's my best friend. What do you mean you don't want to ask her? And he wouldn't let me ask her. And he wouldn't let me go to therapy. So I really did wrong.
And you wound up being with her.
Yeah. And then he called me after a few months and started telling me what a bitch she is. And I thought to myself, how does he have the nerve to call me and complain about her? And then
he was guilty.
And he divorced her within a year. And he's on his fourth wife now, but now he's a cripple. So, and with everybody getting AIDS, I'm sure he was faithful to her for the first time in his life. So,
Unbelievable. So he lives in New York.
no,
Oh,
he lives in Florida
oh, in
now.
Florida. But you spent most of your younger years in New York. You were like a New York native?
I left New
Born?
York when I was about 45.
Oh, but you were born there. But do you ever think about going back to New York?
I love New York.
What area?
If it's not Manhattan, it's not New York.
Not New York.
My daughter lives in Rochester, and I say to her, you think you live in New York. You don't live in New York, you live in Rochester.
What about I mean, what is it about living on Manhattan? What is the
It's creative.
it's just a is
The
it
people are open-minded, a little bit crazy. I love crazy.
and what do people do there? I mean, I visited briefly, and it just seemed like everyone was rushing everywhere.
I'm still Russian. I've always been
The
Russian.
nightlife was beautiful. I mean, like there's always people on the street laughing and on the subways talking and dressed up. So people are always like doing.
I had this roommate, a guy, and we were also best friends. And one day somebody came up to my loft and they wanted to buy a TV. And Warren and I, my friend, we were getting ready to go out. And the guy paid me for the TV, and then he sees the way we were dressing. And he said, oh, I want a costume too. And I didn't think we were in costume. And then first he said, where are you going? I said, we're going to Chinatown for lunch. He said, I want to come. We said, okay. And he said, I want a costume.